It's Wednesday, the 19th of October. My name's Juan Brown. You're watching the Blanco Lirio channel. And yesterday on 18 October, a 1974 Beech E-90 King Air was lost while on final approach to Parkersburg Mid-Ohio Valley Regional Airport. Here's what we know so far. From the Aviation Safety Network, 18 October 2022, the Beechcraft E-90 King Air owner-operator Avintel Management LLC. I believe this will be a FAR Part 91 flight, not for hire. Registration November 515 Golf Kilo, 2 fatalities, 2 occupants. The crash occurred in Marietta, Ohio, while on approach to Parkersburg Mid-Ohio Valley Regional Airport, that's KPKB. A Beechcraft E-90 King Air crashed into the parking lot of the Pioneer GMC dealership in Marietta, Ohio, while on the RNAV runway 21 approach to Mid-Ohio Valley Regional Airport in Parkersburg, West Virginia. Remember, this is separated by the Ohio River. The crash occurred on the Ohio side of the river, and the airport was just on the other side, in the West Virginia side of the river. The pilot and passenger were fatally injured. The aircraft was destroyed by impact and the ensuing post-crash fire. The aircraft impacted the Pioneer GMC dealership right about here while on a straight-in final for runway 21 to the airport. Here's the Mid-Ohio Valley Regional Airport, West Virginia, the end of runway 21. Just 3.5 miles to the dealership parking lot. Ohio River and the airport. The Mid-Ohio Valley Regional Airport is located right here. It has a part-time tower, and that tower opens up at 7 in the morning, and this crash occurred shortly after 7 a.m. local time. There is surveillance video of the final seconds of this crash, which I cannot play the video here or I'll get in trouble with YouTube, but I'll provide you the link below. There's some misinformation that has come out of this video as a result of the lights here on the aircraft. Some people have misconstrued the lights on the aircraft for the aircraft being on fire before impact. This does not indicate a fire on the aircraft prior to impact. This is only the landing lights and taxi lights and nav lights on the aircraft. What this does show is the aircraft is clearly out of control, heading down vertically and spinning or rotating to the left in a nose-down configuration. This is heat signature from the engines. This does not appear to be any sort of problem with the aircraft. There was no distress call prior to this accident. This accident occurred very quickly within 40 seconds of their last radio call at the final approach fix. This is a picture of the actual accident aircraft, 5 Golf Kilo, the 1974 Beech King Air E-90. And of particular interest to accident investigators is going to be the weather at the time of this instrument approach. The weather has recently turned very cold. Back in the eastern half of the country, the weather was reported as about 12 or 1300 foot overcast with temperatures just above freezing, which means that more likely than not, this crew was in icing conditions while they were performing their straight-in final approach. Now, this Beech King Air, like most of them of this vintage, does have the capability to handle icing conditions. It's got the propeller anti-icing capability and the wing and tail de-icing capability via these black rubber pneumatic boots. More on that in a moment. The King Air also has heated windshields, heated pitot tubes, and heated fuel vents and a heated stall warning system, all designed for flight in icing conditions. This is the RNAV GPS runway 21 approach, which they were flying at the time of the accident. All radio calls were normal right up to the final approach fix here at Midco. And somewhere between Midco and Mari, within 40 seconds of their last radio call at Midco, the final approach fix, this accident occurred. Looking at ADS-B data from ADS-B Exchange, it shows normal descent rates and fairly normal speeds right up to the point where this system stopped recording data. This accident occurred up here by the river. But if we look closely at the ADS-B data from FlightAware, we can see the aircraft making a right turn to get onto the instrument approach. 3,200 feet, 200 miles per hour ground speed. 3,100 feet down to 152 miles per hour ground speed. Again, as they're making their turn, the winds are going to affect your ground speed. But then the speed picks up to 185 miles an hour without much loss of altitude, following the instrument approach procedure. And then the final 40 seconds or so of this flight, the speed decays rapidly according to the FlightAware ADS-B data, showing a final ground speed around 87 miles an hour right prior to impact, the last data point being 1,800 feet and 87 miles per hour. Now let's listen to the ATC audio from live ATC overlaid with the instrument approach plate which they're flying.
5 Kilo, descend and maintain 4,000. 4,000, 5 Kilo.
Descend and maintain 4,000 feet. They're inbound to O-Wave.
5 Kilo, 10 miles west of O-Wave. That's O-Wave out above 3,000. Third on that, only two approaching the Parkersburg Airport. Cross O-Wave 3,000, clear for the RNAV 21 at Parkersburg, 5 Kilo.
Clear direct to O-Wave, cross O-Wave at or above 3,000 feet, cleared the RNAV GPS approach.
5 Kilo, aircraft ahead, you said they broke out around 2,100 in the Parkersburg. Great.
Aircraft ahead reported they broke out at 2,100 feet. They broke out of the weather.
5 Kilo, O-Wave, radar service terminated. SI Parkersburg Tower 123.7. 23.7, we'll talk to you a little bit, 5 Kilo.
So they're going from Indianapolis approach control over to the tower at Mid-Ohio Airport.
We are ready.
Fox Air 3401, runway 21, taxi via Echo and Alpha.
Runway 21, taxi via Echo and Alpha.
As part of opening up the airport, they need to do a FOD check of the runway in the morning.
Red Tennessee Delta Alpha, runway 21, taxiway hotel, and no delay. I got traffic on the approach.
That's the guy checking the runway in the truck.
Parkersburg Tower, King Air 515 Golf Kilo, with you on the RNAV 21.
King Air 515 Golf Kilo, Parkersburg Tower, report Midco.
Report Midco, 5 Golf Kilo.
That's the final.
King Air 5 Golf Kilo, how far from Midco are you?
We are 3 miles from Midco.
Okay, thank you.
3 miles from Midco, so right in between Midco and O-Wave on the approach.
5 Golf Kilo is Midco inbound.
King Air 5 Golf Kilo, ready to continue. There's a vehicle on the runway checking for wildlife. They'll be clear shortly.
Roger.
They're at the final approach fix, Midco.
Red 10 rudder, see the hotel golf for the Rams, cross runway 28 at hotel.
Truck's clear.
King Air 5 Golf Kilo, 1280 at 10, runway 21, clear to land.
Clear to land 21, 5 Golf Kilo.
And that's the last we hear of the accident aircraft.
Did that plane just go down? I don't know. I saw the light. I knew it got in a cloud. 5 Golf Kilo, you all right?
Tower, did that plane just go down? The aircraft crashed within 40 seconds of its last transmission, and it crashed right about here at near Maury, right into the GMC dealership. Maury has a crossing altitude of 1,860 feet, and the ADS-B data from FlightAware showed that last ADS-B track at about 1,800 feet. The King Air has a number of systems to help it fly in the weather. We're going to talk anti-ice versus de-ice. For example, the windshield is an anti-ice function. That means it's going to prevent the ice from forming in the first place. The wings and the tail are de-iced. That means you actuate this system after the ice has formed to break the ice off of the flying surface. So in the King Air, you have windshield anti-ice, you have propeller anti-ice, both automatic and manual, you have fuel vent anti-ice, brake de-ice for the wheel brakes. Here's your wing and tail de-ice, a single cycle. You have a stall warning heat and pitot heat as well. Now this is the wing boot de-ice system on the King Air. Very common pneumatic system operated on these aircraft. You wait until the ice begins to build up like you see here, and then you actuate the wing de-ice that inflates those boots into this inflated position, and you see that ice break right off. You don't hold that in the inflated position very long. It's a spring-loaded switch. You let it go, it goes back to the off position, and these boots are going to deflate, and then you accumulate more ice and do it again. There the boots are deflating. The early model King Airs, PT6 powered, have a configuration, a stall speed in the landing configuration of about 76 knots. But of course, if you're operating in icing conditions, if the wing's contaminated at all, those stall speeds go up considerably. Now the horizontal tail is a much thinner surface, and it does generally tend to ice up a little bit worse than the wings do. And in the manual, there's a restriction for the use of this de-icing equipment. You cannot take off or land with the boots inflated because it's too disruptive of the airflow. So de-icing of the aircraft needs to occur before you commence the approach. And this is one of the many things that investigators will be looking at very closely. Remember, we can stall an airplane at any airspeed, but only one critical angle of attack. The problem with icing is it lowers the critical angle of attack at which the wing will stall. Here's a clean wing stalling at about 12, 13 degrees AOA, and here is a iced up wing stalling at 8 or 9 degrees of angle of attack. And it doesn't take much ice accumulation to really disrupt the airflow over the wing. And the hard part for investigators is the problem is this ice melts by the time investigators get to the scene of the crash. But investigators will have to go through every single possibility that could have brought this aircraft down before they even begin to consider icing being the cause of this accident. But it seems that every year, this time of year, here in the Northern Hemisphere, as we make the change towards colder weather, we get a hard lesson on icing at the very beginning of the season. Thank you so much for your support of this channel, especially the folks over on Patreon that make this content possible. See you here.